In this video I'm going to teach you how to create a Google form. So if you don't know what a Google form is, I'm going to show you quickly. Here's an example of a Google form. This is the visits form that we use most. It's the form that every missionary uses every week. So basically what it is, it's a website that allows people to input information, and then that information is fed into the response form that we talked about in the other video. So if you come back into Drive and you go to New, come down to More, and then Google Forms, it's going to take you into Create a Form. Now as soon as you come in to create this form, it's already saved, so you'll notice there's no save button anywhere. Don't worry about saving because it's all automatic. If you come up here to the top, you'll title your form. We're just going to call it Test and hit OK. And then from there you just start making questions. So what you want to do is decide on the information that you want to keep. So first, let's go ahead and pretend that we're copying this visits form, that we're trying to get this kind of information into our database. So I will come into my test form, and the first question that we had on the visits form was your name. So you see the question title. If we compare it here, it's just what's in bold, the first thing. The member's full name, unsuccessful contact, your name. That's going to be the question title. You can put help text if you want, but it's not necessary. It would show up if you were to check all that apply as my help text for this one, for instance. Then the question type. Now this basically is what selects how they are going to input their information. So if you hit multiple choice, you can add as many options as you want, and you can change these to whatever you want. And there's a few different choices. So if we look at the visits form, I chose to do checkboxes like this, and then I put everyone's name. That way, on these visits forms, instead of having to type your name in every time you make an entry, you just check your name and then move on. So one thing I've learned with these forms is to make them as simple to enter as possible. People don't want to do a lot of typing on their phone when they're entering these visits. They've just got it out of someone's house, they're probably headed to another visit, and so they want to be able to pull this open very quickly, and with just a couple taps of their finger have it entered and be done. And that way it doesn't become a pain. So I found that if you put a little extra effort on creating the forms in the back end, you can help your missionaries out a lot. So I would just click my name, and if I went with Bryce, for instance, I could click both of us. And then the only thing you have to type on this form is the member's full name, the person you went and visited. If it was an unsuccessful contact, you would check this. And then you can just keep going and checking the whole way down. And you've noticed that everything on this form has been a checkbox. However, you can always use multiple choice. It's a little bit different. I think it only allows you to choose one multiple choice. And so if you look here at the visits page, the reason active or less active is they can only be one. So if I change them, it'll change versus a checkbox. I can check as many as I want. So that's kind of the difference there. And if you play around with these, you'll kind of get to know them all. Date is one. For a while I had people entering the day that they went and made the visits, but in your response form there's actually a timestamp, and so I would recommend not doing things like that. The least information you can ask your missionaries to put in, the better, because it's that many less things they have to do every time they're entering this over and over. So just keep that in mind. So basically when you're done creating a question, you just hit done, and then you can add another question. We'll add a test question and make it multiple choice, and have a couple things. And you can always add an other, which is cool, because by clicking that little link, it'll pull down this here, and what it looks like on a visits form is it'll show all this and then other, just in case they have something else to put. And then you hit done, and you can add as many questions as you like on this form, and it just kind of ends up looking really good and taking all your information well. So when you're done, like I said, there's no saving. Come back to my drive and you'll notice that we have test and test responses. These both automatically generated when you clicked create the form. So you're going to want to take test and stick it up in your forms, and then you're going to want to take your responses and stick it into your response forms folder to keep those separate and make sure that they're shared with the right people. And other than that, that's all you really have to do. Creating forms is very simple, and it's a really good way to keep track of all your information.